right, so today's episode, or whatever, not today, but this episode of the T4Cast is going to be about my job yet again. It's kind of funny because I've made quite a few videos talking about my job, most of which I'm kind of usually complaining. But I think, what does this make? This is going to be like video number 5 or something. But this one is a little bit different. Instead of me just like complaining about something about my job, this is actually like about my job for real. So there's like a running joke, gag. I don't know what you want to call it. It's not really a joke. It's not really a gag. It's basically reality. But it's that my company is on a banana peel. And, we're just slipping right along. But it feels like more recently things are getting severely worse. That banana peel is now like starting to slide down a hill. This person's really skating along. They're about to fall any minute now. That's my company. It's about to collapse any minute now. And I feel like it's savable for sure. It's definitely savable. It doesn't have to collapse and fail. It's just the owners / upper management need to put effort in to make sure that it doesn't fail. And some of that effort is going to require spending some money. And that's the problem. Because they try to be as cheap as possible, so they're not going to want to spend any money. But it's like, okay, so what do you prefer then in the long run? Do you prefer to have your business and be millionaires? Or do you want it to go out of business and you lose everything? I mean, I guess you wouldn't really lose everything. They're loaded. I've seen the owners, I don't know what it is, his investment account or something. He had it up once on his computer. It was $12 million in there. So, I mean, if the business goes out of business, they're fine. They're still fully loaded. They'll live just fine for, the rest of their lives. I mean, I know their house is pretty modest. It's not like they got this way over the top mansion and all this. It's a good sized house and stuff on a decent plot of land, but it's like, it's not ridiculous like when you think of like a millionaire's home. It's pretty average. It's like a normal, regular, everyday person's style house. And considering how much money that they have, I'm sure it's paid off, so there's no mortgage. All they got to do is pay the yearly property tax. And they have there's a safe in the building that, from what I understand, it's packed with gold bars, so they got all that they can fall back on as well. They have a huge collection of old cars that I'm sure is worth millions of dollars. So again, if worst came to worst, sell some of the cars. There's a hefty enough payday right there. And they have a real estate business, which the company I work for is part of that real estate business. So they're just paying themselves each month for as long as our business is in business. They're getting paid just to own the business, basically. Through they have to pay rent to their own real estate company. But not only that, they do have other properties that pay pretty hefty rent. Like there's a hospital that pays them rent. I think it's something like $28,000 a month for the hospital. Then I know they have tons of property elsewhere. They might, I think there's I've heard, I think there's like a street that they basically own the entire street. So all those people have paid. I don't really know the situation. All I know is I hear that they own a street, and somehow obviously you make money off of that if you own the street, all the houses on there. I don't think these people are paying rent to them, so I don't really know how that works. But my point is they'd be fine even if the company did go out of business. Like, they're not going to be hurting, they're not going to be struggling. They still have plenty of passive income that they're fine. But still, if you want to keep your business that you do have going and not just let it fail, there is things that need to be done. But anyways, let's just get into it. Why I think it's failing for one. First off, I should say, let me talk about why I think the company is failing. So one thing is, we've been ridiculously dead this entire year. Like, normally we get dead around September and it lasts until late January. It starts to kind of pick up again. We've been dead this whole entire year. It's been bad. I don't even understand how we're still okay for now. I mean, I see the bookings reports, and like normally per period, we were making like $1.2 million. Some periods were even a little more robust, like 1.4 million. And a period at my company is just 4 weeks. Every 4 weeks it's a period, so we have 13 periods a year. And yeah, some of these bookings for the periods have been like 100 and something thousand, 500,000. I'm like, 500,000 is not bad, but I'm like, geez, in the grand scheme of things, that's half. But the one that was 100, it was like 148,000 or something like that, 152, something in that range. I was like, holy crap, that's like nothing compared to what we would normally do. That's a tenth of what we would normally do. And then I'm just starting to think big picture. I'm thinking like all our overhead and our labor, and I'm like, geez, I know like some of the overhead's expensive. Like I know the electric bill is ridiculous. It's like $40,000 for our electric bill. So I'm like, geez, you got just enough to cover that. Whatever all of the employees for the month pay is, that's probably got to be a decent chunk. And then I'm like, what's even left after that? Only $150,000 in that period? That's nothing. You got nothing left. You're basically just breaking even. So yeah, things have been very bad for a year. Not even more than a year, because like I said, our slowdown always starts in September. This crap started last September, and it's lasted this whole entire year, and now it's September again, late September. We're back into what would classically be the slowdown period. So I'm like, holy crap, if it's been slow like this all along, what is the slowdown period going to be like? No business? I don't know. The only silver lining is that with my company is that from what I understand, every business is like this. Like when sales goes out and talks to people, sales doesn't even talk about our status. The other companies will talk to us about theirs and how they're struggling, and then sales will kind of chip in and be like, wow, we're in that same boat. So it's not nice to hear, but at the same time, it's nice to hear that it's not just us. Like we're not struggling alone. But so there's that. And then the other silver lining is that there are some technologies that my company offers that we're actually ahead of the game. So obviously that's good. If things start to have a little bit of an upswing, and then we can pitch this to potential customers, they might find that attractive, what we can offer. Granted, the technology that we do offer is going to become like, standard in the whole industry that I work in. So everyone will eventually catch up. We're just ahead of the curve right now, though. So that's kind of an advantage for us. So that's only like two good things, but still, I mean, the sales aren't there regardless. So that's one thing. I think what's also hurting sales, well, I guess if this is an industry-wide thing, that doesn't really make too much of a difference, but I think something else that's hurting sales is our pricing kind of sucks. It's very high, and in part, it's very high because it was built that way back in the day when things were different, when the economy was, or at least the internal economy at my company was doing much better. So we kind of had that leeway to be a little more pushy on our pricing and try to make a little bit more. Now it's kind of like we got to figure out how to cut back, but it's just so ingrained in the company that we don't really know what to cut back to. We're so used to the prices being ridiculous that if we try to cut back, we feel like we're undercutting ourselves, but that's not really the case, because the pricing is just built out with so much fluff. It's like we go and we base everything that we sell on the part's weight to start with. So it's like we get the part weight and then we add 3% to that. Then we get the material cost, we add 7% to that. Then once we figure all that out, it gets added up at the end, and then you have like total material cost, because it could just be material, but there could be secondary materials that are part of our products as well. So anyways, then another 3% gets added onto that. After we already added 3% to both the weight and the base material to begin with, now we're adding 3% on like the total material. Then you have your loss factor. That's just even more fluff, because for the most part, we don't really have a loss factor per se. Like everything that we make is pretty solid right out the gate. The only loss is in the beginning, when you have to purge your machine and like get it on the initial setup. But even then, what we factor in for loss factor, it's 12%. Like we're not having a loss of 12%. We're having a loss of like 1%, 2%. So And our pricing is per 1,000. So when you think about that, we're saying a 12% loss factor per 1,000. So if you buy let's say 10,000, you're paying that 12% loss factor 10 times essentially. So we're way more than covered for a loss that's over exaggerated. And then we also have a margin on top of all of this. We end off with a margin. I think we do a 20% margin or something, 10% margin. Maybe it's just a 10%. But still, after all this other fluff, we're still packing on 10% on the top of it all. And it's 10% on the final cost after all these other fluffs. You know what I mean? So it's it's a pretty high number to begin with, and then we're tacking 10% on that. It's not like we're tacking 10% on something on a smaller number. You know what I mean? So let's say we're tacking it onto labor and material only, and it came out to, let's say, $30 for an easy number. So 10% is $3. Where instead we're tacking it on after everything, after selling G&A, after loss factor, after this, after that. So maybe now that final number is, let's say, $60 for easy numbers. Well, now 10% of that is $6. You know, so see what I'm saying? We're really tacking on a hefty chunk for our margin. I mean, not loss factor, our margin. So anyways, our pricing is just terrible. It's very high. And so that's not helping a lot either. Customers obviously don't want to go with us because, they see our price and they're like, whoa, what the F is this? Are you serious? We had one project where we usually try to get the customer's target pricing first, so that then we at least have an idea of what to try to aim for and do our best to get as close to it as we can if we can't actually do that. But this one I think was backwards. They just asked for a price and said at the time that they didn't have any target pricing or whatever. So we did just give them a price, and we ended up being 4 times higher than what they were currently paying from somewhere else. I think we quoted them at I don't know, something like $300 1,000. And they were like, whoa, we're used to getting this for $78 1,000. And so it's kind of like a shock on both ends. To them, they're like, oh my God, this is so much more. And to us, we're like, what? How did you get it that low? $78? How? We look back at our sheets and $78 is basically material and labor. We're like, okay, so what? How are we supposed to do this? I guess we make no margin, don't have any loss factor, don't have anything factored in towards the machine rate, nothing factored in towards overhead. So that obviously is killing us too. Because we do what we can to try to get business. We go out to trade shows. Right now we've been shooting out tons of cold emails and cold calls. I guess what we're doing, this is sales. I'm not really involved in this too much. I'm just aware of it because I'm kind of sales adjacent at my job. They do make me involved in some sales stuff, but not all, because I'm not really supposed to be sales. I'm engineering. But for some reason, they have me in on some of the sales stuff. So anyways, I know that they've been going through, sending out tons of cold emails. And I think what their strategy is they send out a cold email, and then they give it a few days. And if nobody responds, then the ones that they cold emailed, they'll cold call. But if you send back an email, then they don't call you. So, it's been 48 emails a week they send out, but they're only making 8 calls because I guess all the other ones actually respond. Or there's a response in the form of this person no longer works for the company, because some of our contacts are just really old. We're just going through our system and just blasting out emails to everybody alphabetically. Right now we're on the A's. Actually, I think we finally finished the A's, so we'll be going on to the B's. So yeah, some contacts, the person left the company, or they retired, or they died. In one case, we've had one that they died. Well, I'm sorry, this person no longer works for us. They passed away. Oh, okay, that's quite surprising to hear. So, yeah. But anyways, so we are trying. It's just, I don't know. But, what I think really is going to cause our failure is internally. There's just a lot of turmoil internally, and it's causing a lot of core people to leave. First off, our former CFO, he was the guy to go to try to get the pricing down wicked cheap like all these customers expect. And, sadly, he passed a couple of months ago. He had cancer, and he succumbed to it. So there's that. We don't have him anymore. So now it's just us internally trying to freestyle this. You got me, I've been involved on quoting, but like, I just don't get it. There's so many different ways to do our stupid quoting. We have our system, which is archaic. Literally, it's from 1978. And like I said in the beginning, my company doesn't want to spend money, so that's why we're still using software from 1978 as our company's main brain. So anyways, it's not very smart. It only knows what you put into it. So that doesn't help. It's like it takes a lot of human knowledge to make sure that the price comes out right. And that's the other part. I'm doing one aspect of it. I'm just trusting that the pricing in the system's correct. But that's not all my duty. That's purchasing's duty to make sure that the pricing gets in there. That's our new CFO's duty to make sure that not only is the pricing in there, but that it is accurate. And so then when I do a price, I'm just blindly trusting they did their jobs, and sometimes they don't. So now my pricing is off because they didn't do their job, so now I'm using incorrect pricing. It's either too high or it could possibly even be too low. Maybe there's been new pricing that's worse, and I'm using this old pricing that's better. So, there's that. Another thing that's a problem with pricing is there's a spreadsheet way. There's two spreadsheet ways. There's an old spreadsheet that the CFO, we've had so many CFOs since I've worked there, but the CFO that was in between the expert one that passed and the one that we have now. So she made some spreadsheets, and then when she was leaving the company and I was learning how to do quotes, she just handed them off to me. So there's those spreadsheets that I can use. There's also new spreadsheets that the current CFO has made, and hers are kind of a lot better than the last CFOs, because the last CFOs were just kind of, freestyled, where the new one, she has it to match with the system. Problem is, though, is the system's pricing sucks because there's tons of back-end stuff. Like I said, all these percentage increases and stuff that we kind of want to try to get away from. But her spreadsheet is built out to match that, which is good, but like I said, also bad. But, there's that way. Then there's the quoting way that is something that we've kind of freestyled came up with, but it sort of works. And it is to take the pricing from the system. So the system will break it down relatively sufficient enough. We end up getting to an all-in cost, and then it goes to the price breaks. So between the all-in cost and the price breaks, there's more fluff added. So what we'll do sometimes is we'll take the all-in price, and then we just add the normal price breaks without the extra fluff. There's the percentage fluff, plus there's a flat rate fluff. So we'll take out the percentage and add just the flat rate, which really does help a lot. Because our percentage fluff is quite ridiculous. So when you add just the flat rate, the prices are way better. In some cases, it cuts them down by like $100 1,000. So there's that way. Then there's also the way that I kind of developed, which was to use the computer, to use our system in a different way. So there's the quote rundown way. Then there's also a way that you get this report called a root sheet, and then I take that and I plug it into a spreadsheet that I created, and a lot of times that'll get me a slightly better price than what the system normally would offer, because I don't have all those extra percentages built into it. And yeah, there's just so many different ways to do quotes, and I hate it. So anyways, why was I even talking about this? How did I get on the tangent of how there's so many different ways to do quotes? I don't know. But yeah, so the pricing is very inconsistent, and I always think that would help if we had like one core central area and one way to do quotes, and that was it. Then at least we'd have some kind of consistency, which would help a little bit. Because then once you tweak it down, then you know that what you have will carry over always. Not what we have now, where one person tweaks it, and then you go back and someone else does it, and now they don't know what the other person did to tweak it, and it just makes a problem. It's kind of like our CFO that we had that passed. He came up with some pricing for like one of our product lines, and the pricing that he came up with, I have no idea how he did it. The pricing is so cheap. No matter what I try to do, I can't get near that pricing. I'm always off by like $50 to $100 1,000. And I'm like, how the F did he come up with this? And what's even more crazy is apparently using his pricing, we're still making money. I'm like, how? No matter what I do, I can't come close to those numbers. So, but you mean to tell me that we're not losing anything off of his numbers? We're still making money? How? Like, his numbers are literally unachievable. I don't understand how we're making money off of that. But, I mean, at the same time, I guess it kind of does make sense, because like I said, we have so much fluff added in that maybe he just stripped the fluff 100% out, and we're just going based on, like, I don't know, normal numbers, you know, the regular part weight, the regular material cost, and maybe the overhead, labor, machine rate, and then maybe a little bit for margin. I don't know, maybe that's what he did. I have no idea. I can't get that pricing. Our new CFO doesn't know how to get to that pricing. His pricing is ridiculous. It's so low. And it sucks because he kind of did this, like, I don't know what you want to call it, behind the scenes or whatever. Like I know what happened. It was that sales went and talked to him and asked if he could come up with some pricing, and he did, but he didn't, like, document any of it. He just documented his final price for us. So I don't have, like, backups to look at and study and, oh, okay, this is what he did. So, you know, in a way, that's also another way to do quotes, because anytime I have one of those products, I just reference his quote sheet, which I wish I knew how he did it, so that way then over time, if need be, I can update that pricing, but I don't know what to do. So, anyhow, though, yeah, so it's just what I was trying to get at. I really don't know how I got on this tangent. I know there was a point, but I completely forgot. But anyways, when I feel like the company's going to fail, it's because a lot of key people are leaving. Oh, yeah, that's what I said. So, you know, he passed away. Then you have our last CFO. She left. I mean, this was a couple of years ago now, but still. So now we're down to another CFO who's kind of new, doesn't know our system because it's archaic. So she's been learning pretty quickly. I can't say she doesn't know it anymore. She knows it now, but still, when she was new, like anybody, she's like, I don't know this. It's old. Jeez, the system is older probably than majority of the employees there. Like, that's ridiculous. So, you know, then you have, who else left recently that I feel like was kind of critical? Well, you had the former chief engineer, the guy that I replaced. Yeah, he went out to be the plant manager, but he left. Now, this was a couple years ago as well, but still, that he took all that engineering knowledge and experience with him, plus the little bit of experience that he built up from being plant manager, all that just gone. And now you have our current plant manager who put his 2 weeks in. And the thing is with these long-term employees leaving, I feel like upper management should see that as a critical warning, a critical error. But I don't think they do. I think they just see it as, whatever. Like, the former chief engineer, when he left, he was with the company for, I think, exactly 30 years. To have a 30-year customer who's employee who's basically been working there straight out of college, up and leave, tells you there must be something going on that's pretty bad. If he could last 30 years and then now he wants a different job, the guy's like in his 50s. Now he wants to find a different job. Or like our current plant manager, he's been there for 38 years. Straight out of high school, technical school. He went to technical school, but same idea. Straight out of technical school, this has been his only job, unless he had a job at like McDonald's or something in high school. But otherwise, this has been his only job, and now he's leaving. It's like, you know, the guy's in his mid-50s. Who wants to go and start a new job in the mid-50s when they're going to retire in 10 years? Like, nobody. So that tells you something. And I mean, I think he wants to leave because of upper management. You know, it's a family-owned company, and so the current owner's son, who's like 25, you know, he's made him be the executive vice president in all this, and basically is letting him kind of run the show while he kind of just sits back and only deals with like the overall things, like if we're going to make a big purchase, or if we want to do something with pricing to try to make it better, like cut it in half or whatever. We got to review it with him. But otherwise, everything else is his son. And I think a lot of people just take issue with him being the one like in charge now because he doesn't know anything. This is his only job that he's ever had, as far as I know. Okay, and he moved up the ranks pretty dang quickly. He started out in sales, and from what I understand, when he was in sales, he screwed up a lot. He would always quickly try to go rush around to whoever he needed to see to like brush it under the rug so nobody would know. But the people that sat near him saw this all the time and knew that he was constantly screwing up. In addition, when there wasn't really anything to do, he'd just be sitting there doing nothing. So people saw that too, like, wow, he has terrible work ethic, but he can get away with it because, oh, daddy's the boss. And then he became office manager out of nowhere, still in sales, but also office manager. And then boom, out of nowhere, couple of months after, wasn't even a couple of months, might have been like 1 month after becoming office manager, all of a sudden you see on his signature EVP, and it was like, what? When did this happen? So anyways, yeah, the kid has like no real world experience. He got pumped right up through the ranks because, family owned company, and now he's, I'm executive vice president. And a lot of people have a hard time with it because, like I said, the kid has no real world experience, and like, he barks things at people and tells them to do stuff, and they're like, kid, I know. Geez, I've been in this industry for X amount of years, like our VP of sales. He's been in this industry, he's been with the company for like 13 years or something like that, but he's been in the industry in general for like 43 years, 45 years, something like that. So this kid's trying to tell him things, and like, you can just see it on his face that he's not going to get into it out of respect, but at the same time, he's thinking, oh my God, no, really? Please tell me, please train me how to do the job I've been doing my entire adult life. The guy's like 60-something years old. Here's a 25-year-old trying to tell him what to do. And he's just like, oh my God. Yes, I didn't know. Thanks for letting me know. And I think that's like what happened with the plant manager. I know he didn't want to deal with him because there was a falling out one day. This was a few months back now. And I guess it was like, the president of the company, the EVP's dad was like, do you have a problem with taking orders from him? And the plant manager said, yeah, actually I do. And then like stormed out. I think by stormed out, I mean like he really stormed out. Not only did he storm out of the office, he like left. He was like, F this, I'm just going home now. Apparently he smoothed things over or whatever and came back the next day, but still he stormed out in that moment. And then, yeah, he's been faking it. Everything's been cordial. I thought he kind of just swallowed his pride, like, whatever. I guess I got to deal with this, even though I don't want to. But apparently not, because he found another job. So, yeah, he was serious about, no, I don't want to take orders from this kid, which I can't blame him. He's been working for the company for 38 years. Now some kid who has no idea about anything is supposed to be his boss? That's ridiculous. Like, that's not how business should work. Your boss should be somebody who's a little intelligent in the matter and has some experience, not somebody who has no experience with anything at all. You know what I mean? He's got no experience working anywhere. Like, he just graduated high school. From what I understand, I think he took like a semester of college and then dropped out because it was just too much work. Oh, I don't want to do this. So he dropped out, and then, Dad, can I just get a job? And then boom, there he is. You know what I mean? Like, in comparison, for me, I've had tons of jobs. I've been working since I was 14. I started at Burger King. And then I ended up at a McDonald's for several years, for like 8 years. This was high school job, my college job, and I kept it as a second job after I graduated college. I also worked for a Dunkin's in between there a little bit. Actually, I think that was late high school, early college. And then I switched to McDonald's. So I was early college all the way through, being a second job after I graduated college and stuff and started in my industry. I also then went back to Dunkin's to work as a second job for a little bit of extra money. Even with my professional career, I've been in, 4 companies now. My first company, I was there for 3.5 years. Then I went to a second company for 3.5 years. I was with another one. That one was short. It wasn't something I wanted to be in. I just needed a job, and they hired me basically on the spot. Not even on the spot. Like, I went in for an interview, and the guy was trying to have me start doing the work already. And, like, his boss came out of nowhere and was like, whoa, what's happening? You can say you want to hire him and stuff. That's fine and all, but we can't just do it like this. We got to, have the paperwork filed and all that with HR first. But yeah, so basically, like I said, I was hired on the spot. So that's why I took it, because I desperately needed a job. I was out of work for 9 months, so I finally found a place that desperately wanted me, and I was like, okay. But I do remember the people that worked there were like from Spain and from Mexico. And the guy that tried to hire me on the spot was from Spain, and his accent was very thick. Like, when he was talking to me about the interview process, well, not in the interview process, trying to have me start working, Like, I could barely understand him. I was like, oh, man, this is going to be rough. But then, like, his boss, the guy who was, like, the site manager, he was the production manager. The site manager, he was a normal American guy, so at least I could clearly understand him. You know, he talked just like me. But, yeah, the production manager, he was difficult at first. Over time, I got used to it, and I was able to understand him no problem. But at first, it was like, oh, my God, what? What is this guy saying? Half the time, I couldn't even tell if he was speaking English when he was speaking to me. I thought maybe he was screwing up and talking to me in Spanish just by, you know, habit, not realizing, oh, whoops, this guy doesn't know Spanish. Like, that's how rough it was. But, like I said, I got used to it after. And then I was able to figure out, even sometimes when I didn't know what he said, I was still able to kind of figure it out based on, like, how his actions were. Like, sometimes if he asked me something, and then if he lingered, I'd start to think about it, and I'd realize, oh, he must have asked me something about the job. That's why he's still standing here. And then I'd be like, you know, I'd kind of and then I'd start to think a little bit more, and then I'd realize, oh, I know what he said. I mean, it sounds like this took a long time, but it was all happening, like, in real time. It's not like he was standing there looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing while I'm processing? It was like, you know, a quick process, but that's kind of like the process that I went through. Like, uh-oh, he said something that wasn't just in passing. What did he say? Let me think about this. Oh, okay, he's asked about this job. I'll pull that up and show him. But yeah, and then now I'm at my company now. I've been here for a while. What was it, 6 years, I think? Yeah, I think I've been here for 6 years, which is pretty cool because so far when I've been in my professional industry, it's only been like 3.5 years tops at each job. And I've been like, man, I got to break that cycle. And here we go. Broke it. 6 years. That's solid. You know, my longest tenure with any company has been McDonald's, 8 years. So maybe I can beat that too. That'll be cool. With something good instead of McDonald's. You know, McDonald's for 10 years, 8 years, if I can get like 10 years in a professional engineering job, that would be way better. That'll be much cooler for my resume. Well, I say for my resume. I don't put McDonald's and stuff on my resume. I have enough professional stuff that I can add to my resume that I don't need to showcase McDonald's anymore. That was only when I had no real world experience. Now I have the real world experience, so I don't need to worry about that. But anyways, I went on some weird tangent. Let's get back to the main focus, which was talking about the people that are leaving. So you got the plant manager leaving. The person that does HR also is our purchaser, which is ridiculous on the owner's end. I don't know why you would put two core positions like that together as one person. That is a wild business choice, but that's the situation. And like, she's been thinking about leaving too, just because they just expect so much. She has 2 jobs basically, and yet they want everything from both jobs done in a 40-hour window. And she's like, are you serious? Like, the HR's been busy because since we've been so slow, we've been trying to be like Ford in the 20s and keep our employees on and just have them work reduced hours and stuff, and, you know, claim the rest as unemployment. We got this thing, I think it's called shared work. So it's like so it's unemployment, but for people who are still employed, you just get your pay on the other day through unemployment or whatever, the rest of your pay. So that's what we've been doing. But now we're just cutting people because it's like we don't have the work and stuff to even have people staying on. They're just standing around doing nothing. So she's like, I'm busy trying to do all this, and then I gotta deal with the, you know, unemployment when they call and stuff, and then I gotta do this other crap for HR and all this, and at the same time you want me to find all these new materials, and you want me to do my regular purchasing too, like when maintenance needs things or when you guys need something. And at the same time, I'm hunting down all these new materials because we're trying to get new materials that are cheaper and just try new materials, different things we've never really experimented with before. So she's like, I'm trying to source this, get pricing, maybe set up meetings. Then I got to be in these meetings with these people so I can learn about the material and this and that. So she's getting overwhelmed, and she's been talking about, I'm going to have to brush up on my resume or dust off my resume and see what I can find. She's like, for the most part, I think a lot of us that stay here, it's just because it's convenient, you know, and for her, that's the situation. It is convenient because she does need a lot of time off. She has relatively sickly parents, and so she needs a lot of time off to take them to the hospital, or sometimes just to stay home and be there with them. And that's one thing that's good about the job. It's pretty flexible. You have that option to be able to work from home if you need to, or leave early if you need to, or come in late, and nobody really says anything. It's just a mom and pop company, you know what I mean? It's not like we're working for some big conglomerate, Apple or whatever. So that's why she stays. And then I thought about it, I was like, that's kind of the situation with me too. The reason why I've been staying for so long is just because it's convenient. It's close to home. It's close to my daughter where she lives. So the days I get her, it's just right down the street. It's 10 minutes, which might sound like a goofy reason to keep your job. But my last job, it was like a solid hour and a half to go from work to get to her mom's place. And that sucked. 10 minutes down the street and then she's with me is just so much better. I used to leave work at 3:30 to get to her mom's for 5. Now I can leave work at like 4:25 and be there at like 4:35. Boom. So much better. Like, I don't want to deal with long trips anymore to get to be able to get her. I just want it to be nice and quick like that. And it's also been convenient for other reasons. Like, I've been helping out my daughter's mother with her son, bringing him to school and stuff. I know. But still, that's kind of, I've had that availability to do that. I don't need to worry about it anymore. He's finally old enough that he can take the morning bus. But still, I've been doing that. And I don't know, our hours also are pretty decent. I go in for 7:30, so like I can sort of sleep in. I don't have to get up until like, at the bare minimum, I don't have to set my alarm until 7:10. Like, if I set my alarm for 7:10, jump up, quickly got dressed and got going, I could make it to work on time. So like, that's kind of cool. I don't have to get up early. Like, I feel like if I got a better job or something, I'd probably have to get up early. I'd probably have to be to work at 6, which means I'd have to get up at like 5 or something. And I'm not an early bird. That would be brutal for me, especially in winter. It's still dark out, and here I am up and functioning at 5. No thank you. 6:30, 6:45, that is so much better, like I currently have. So, it's kind of like just ease why we stay. But anyways, yeah, all these people are talking about leaving, or else they do. I also hear our current CFO's potentially gonna be leaving too. I don't know. Some people are talking like they think that she's been sending some resumes out, and they say, I can't even believe she's lasted this long. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not really in that circle well enough to know like what she thinks of the job or anything, so I don't know. I guess she's unhappy or something. I don't know. She doesn't seem it. She seems fine, but like I said, I'm not really in that circle, so I don't hear what she might say to these other people and such. But yeah. But anyways, to really double down on the main point here, it's that our plant manager is leaving, and the plant manager holds a lot of tribal knowledge and stuff from being out in the plant for 38 years. He also is like the only one that really knows how to function, especially in some of our departments. One of our departments, it's full of idiots who, well, maybe not full of idiots, but the operators are. They don't know how to function at all. You get the overnight guy, he don't know how to function. The guy in the on days, he don't know how to function at all. And then that leaves the second shift guy. I don't really know how good he is. I don't work second shift. At the same time, I don't hear anything about him. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe he's okay. I don't know. I don't know his name. I don't know who he is. But, you just have these kind of sucky, stupid operators. And it's like, what's going to happen now? Before, our plant manager at least kind of stepped in and just would like, and just whatever, I'm not dealing with this, and would just do it. If the first shift operator was running a machine like a complete idiot and doing it terribly, he'd just step in and just do it, which probably is a detriment to himself. He should have coached the operator and made him do it the right way, and then he'd learn and he wouldn't be so useless now. But at the same time, I guess, when you're frustrated and just need to get something done quickly, it's just easier to just do it. So that's what he always did. So it's like, what are we going to do now? Like, nobody else really knows how to use those machines as well as he did. I don't know how to use them. Nobody in the office knows how to use them. Nobody else out in the plant really knows how to. So that's going to be a problem. And what's even worse is we just got a new machine, and it's like, so how are we going to use this? We only have idiots that are going to be testing this and troubleshooting it. We don't have anybody smart who will be able to test this and troubleshoot it. So, like, what are we going to do? I don't know. I almost feel like that press is just going to sit there now and not be used, because how are we going to use it? We don't have anybody that can use the existing ones. How is one of these doofuses going to use the new one? And it's, from what I understand, it's relatively speaking a lot different. It's all electric. It's bigger. It probably has different controls because it's a different brand than what we would normally buy. So there's a lot of new variables as well. These doofuses can't figure out the current variables. They're going to figure out these new variables? Doubt it. So that might be just a waste of money now that we bought this new tool that is just going to be like a glorified massive paperweight. And then there's another department that he used to run. He was the head of that department before he became plant manager a couple of years ago. And yeah, he basically has all that figured out too. Now the guy that works first shift, he's a difficult situation because at least he seems to have it figured out. I don't think that the department's really struggling with him there. The problem is, though, is he doesn't want to be the supervisor. And so even though he basically is like the supervisor, he doesn't accept that title. And I think he declined to accept the pay as well because he's like, I don't want to be the supervisor. So even though he is the supervisor, he treats it like he's not, and which is very weird. I'm like, bro, you're doing the work anyways. Just take the pay, accept the responsibility. Like, why are you, what? It makes no sense. He's doing the job but doesn't want to do the job, and I don't get it. But I guess he just doesn't want to technically be called the supervisor, so he's like, well, if I don't accept the pay, and if I ever have any issues, you can't throw that in my face because I'm not the supervisor. But anyways, for what he's worth, he does seem to have it together. He does seem to know what he's doing. He's not like a total idiot. So that's good. But I don't know about the other shifts, what they got going on. And like I said, we're going to need a supervisor. At least the plant manager could kind of fill in as the supervisor. Now what? We either A, need to force this guy to be the supervisor and be like, bro, stop playing. You have to be the supervisor now. We have nobody else. Or B, we need to find somebody who could be the supervisor, which is just going to be weird when the guy that we have is probably going to be better than somebody off the street. But I don't know. I'm just thinking, though, big picture, like, things are going to be very bad now. I feel like our plant is going to run terribly. I mean, we have a new guy that's acting as the interim plant manager. Not new. He works for the employee. He's actually the head of sales, the guy I already mentioned earlier. And he's going to be working as the plant manager. And I think he was plant manager at his last company for several years, like decade or so. So when I say it's going to run poorly, I don't think it's going to be poorly because of him. I think management-wise, he'll have it under control just fine. Just like he has the sales department under control just fine. So I don't think there's any issues there. It's just the people. And like this guy that's going to serve as the interim plant manager, he knows how to be a manager, but he doesn't know how to use any of the machines. Or at least our current plant manager who's leaving, he wasn't really a manager, but learned, but he knew how to use all the machines. So he could go in any of those departments basically and run the things and do the actual labor and do the work. Where the guy that's going to be the temporary plant manager, he doesn't know how to do any of that. He's never needed to. Same as like me. I've never needed to know how to use any of those machines, so I don't know either. So that's like another issue. Like, oh, he's going to be the plant manager on paper, and that's it. He won't be able to be the plant manager in practice. So, yeah, it's going to be very bad pretty soon. I think the current plant manager has like a week left, and he's done. So it's like, oh, boy. Yeah, I think beginning of October. I think his last day is like September 30th. And then October 1st, he's gone. So starting in October, it's like, uh-oh, what are we going to do now? But the crazy part is I don't even think upper management is thinking about this. I think they don't care. They just see it as, yeah, everything will be fine. We'll figure it out. And it's like, you got to be real. Like, this is a 38-year vet that you're losing. You already lost a 30-year vet. Now you're going to lose but luckily for you, A, you had this 38-year guy to replace him as plant manager, and B, you hired me, which I don't want to sound douchey or whatever, but, for the most part, I am pretty smart, and I can learn things quickly and easily, and I feel like I did. I feel like I do pretty good at my job. So, you got lucky with finding me, but what are we going to do about the plant? Unless we get lucky again and find somebody who's on his level to bring in as the new plant manager or whatever. But otherwise, this is going to be very bad. And this is why I think things might end up collapsing. These people in the office that are thinking about leaving, they might just take the plunge now because things might get more stressful. And they're going to be like, you know what? F this. I don't need this. I'm not going to stay. I mean, half the people that have been complaining about quitting anyways are close to retirement age. So they'll probably just take early retirement. Screw this. I don't need to work anymore. Bye. So, yeah. So anyways, as I said in the very beginning, there are steps that can be taken to save the company, though. But what needs to happen is, A, I have all these ideas. They just need to mother effing listen to me. And I've tried. I've sent out formal memos. I've spoken to them in person. I've sent out casual emails with ideas. I keep trying to pitch ideas to them. And, I feel like I'm just being ignored. They respond, oh, yeah, these are some good ideas. But they don't do any of them. And it's almost getting to the point where it's like, you need to mother effing listen to me. It's either you listen to me or your company fails. It's literally do or die. And you need to do. You need to stop ignoring me because you don't want to spend the money or whatever, or you just think I'm an idiot or something. And you need to do it. So anyhow, here are the things that I think need to be done in order to save the company. The very, very first thing that my company needs to do to try to salvage itself is they need to get rid of the current COO. At the end of the day, this guy is ridiculously useless. But for some reason, they don't see it. They being upper management. Everyone else in the company sees it, except for upper management. They seem to think that somehow he's great. I've even heard them say it recently. We were talking about something, I don't remember what. But they were like, just like, his name, what he does for us. And I was thinking, are you kidding me right now? Are you seriously trying to compare it to him? Mr. Useless? I don't get it. The only thing that I can think of why they think he's any good is because he's been with the company for a long time. He's been with the company for over 30 years. I don't know exactly how long, but over 30 years at least. And as I said earlier, this is a family-owned company, and so the current owner's father, actually I think technically his grandfather hired him, but then fired him because his grandfather realized that this guy sucked. But then when his son, now the current owner's father, took over, he rehired this doofus, and they became friends. They're still friends to this day. He leaves work sometimes in the middle of the shift to go dick around, meet up with him, and hang out for an hour or so. So, yeah, I think that's why they have this misconception about him. It's just because it's been ingrained in their family, The son grew up around his dad, talking high praise about this guy and probably hanging out with him on a personal level. And then obviously the next gen, the current owner's son, he's grown up with grandpa and dad hanging out with this doofus. So it's just ingrained in their, in their mindset that he's something special, but he's not. To start, he was supposed to retire 6 years ago now. Almost 6 years ago, he was supposed to retire. And yet here we are 6 years later, and this doofus is still there doing absolutely nothing but just sucking the company dry of whatever he can. Everyone says he probably has a pretty hefty check, pretty hefty pay because A, he's kind of gotten intertwined with that family, so they probably hook him up just for that. B, he was the plant manager, so you'd assume he's making halfway decent money with that position. And C, now he's COO, so he's probably getting some kind of kickback for that as well. So so everybody says that that's not stupid from upper management. They're like, this guy, they could get rid of him and give all the core people, at least all the people that really matter, the salary people. You could give them a little bit of a raise each with his salary. Yeah, we wouldn't get much each, but, maybe we each get $2 an hour out of it. You know what I mean? I don't know what he's at. Let's say he's at $60 an hour. $2 an hour, that's 30 people. There's not 30 people in there on salary, so we could all get like $5 an hour and absorb his salary, and we'd all be that much happier, and we're actually useful. We're actually doing something for the company instead of King Suck just doing nothing. I mean, let's put it this way. Let me talk about how he sucks. So to start, again, his position is COO. That stands for Chief Operations Officer. So wouldn't you think like the day-to-day operations of the company would be managed and directed by this person? I'd think so. When Triple H was COO of the WWE, he directed all the events and the storylines and all this. Well, does King Suck do that? Nope. At best, what King Suck does is if something comes up, some kind of a situation arises, he'll sit in a meeting and talk about it with everyone, and then leaves it to all of us to figure out what we need to do to solve it. And I always think, isn't it his job to come up with the solution? He should be coming up with the solution. And then we re-meet and he just tells everybody what their dedicated role is in arriving at the solution. And that's it. Why do we have to come up with the solution for our problem? Why isn't Mr. COO doing this? Why does he just sit there and talk about it? And when he's talking, it's not even like there's any solutions. He's just asking like dumb questions and kind of just, for the most part, leaving it on us to come up with the ideas. Like when he talks about it, it's kind of useless talking. It's just words. Like, okay, you're adding no value at all to this conversation. Why are you even here? So that's one thing. Another thing is he really doesn't do anything in the grand scheme of things. The top two things that people say about him are that A, he comes in just to stir the pot, which, yep, he is famous at that. He loves to start trouble with everyone over nothing. And somehow he always finds a way to keep himself out of it. He could be a part of the problem, but he still will spin the story, so that way then he's totally out of it. And, this, that. Oh, yeah, this came to my attention. Keep himself out of it. So that's one thing that people love, always stirring the pot. And the second thing is how he will come up with the most stupid, pointless little dumb side projects for us to do. And he calls you up to his office and, hey, can you do this stupid project for me? Like a huge time waster. Like you hear the details and you're like, seriously? This is a couple of days this is going to take for me to do. And like I always think, I don't have time for this. I actually have a real job plus secondary responsibilities to begin with. You have nothing. You're sitting here doing nothing. Why can't you do this? You thought of the stupid idea. You do it. Why do I have to do it? Then what happens? I come up with the end result that you're looking for and all this, come up with a good presentation to present to you. And then what? You're just going to, plagiarize, essentially, steal my work and present it to upper management and act like it was all you and get all the credit. Hey, good job, man. Oh, thanks. I did absolutely nothing. No, he'd never admit that he did nothing. He'd just take the credit when I did all the work, or someone else did all the work, or maybe me and someone else collaborated on it, or maybe I'm not even involved. It's just 2-3 other people that worked on something, and then he goes and takes all the credit while he did nothing besides come up with this dumb idea. That's just annoying. Like I said, like he literally sits in his office all day doing nothing. Like here's his schedule. Here's his breakdown of how his day goes. So to start, he comes in at like 6:30 in the morning. Why does he come in so early? I don't know. He doesn't need to be there then. I mean, our official start time isn't until 7:30. That's when we have to be there. So why he shows up an hour earlier, I don't know. But he's usually there 6:30, 6:20, for no reason. Usually what he does is he has a big screen TV in his office, so he just sits in there and he watches like the Fox News morning news show that they have. He watches that, and then around 7:30 he leaves to go to Dunkin' Donuts to get himself a coffee, and he gets upper management coffees as well. Now he gets back, it's probably like 7:45. Then he moseys on over to the morning meeting. The morning meeting is about an hour, 45 minutes or so. Because there's two. There's one morning meeting that's with all the managers in the plant and everything. And then there's a more condensed morning meeting that's kind of with just upper management and a few other members that are kind of work closely with upper management. Then after this, now it's about 9 o'clock. He usually leaves to do what? I don't know. He just leaves and he comes back around like 10:30. Then from maybe 10:30 to 11:30, he just kind of hangs out with the president of the company, and all they do is just talk about nothing. They just kind of sit around chatting. They're just having casual conversation with each other for an hour. Then 11:30, he leaves, goes to lunch, usually comes back, I don't know, sometimes it's quick. He'll come back around like 12. Other times he comes back like 12:30. I don't really know what he does, what you know what I mean, what dictates if he's going to take an hour lunch or a half hour, but whatever. He's back by 12:30 at the bare minimum. Then he, I don't know, I guess sits around doing nothing, because then he goes to the 1 o'clock meeting, which this one's much shorter than the morning meeting. The 1 o'clock meeting is more just for like projected scrap and stuff from the day, where the morning meeting is more like, you know, what happened yesterday, what are your plans for today, and yada yada from each department, where the afternoon meeting is just kind of, like I said, scrap. Okay, and it's usually just headed by the plant manager. He just kind of goes over the reports from that day with the team. So anyways, Doofus goes to the 1 o'clock meeting. That thing's usually done by like 1:20. Sometimes it drags on a little longer, but usually it's about 1:20 and you're done. And then he heads on back to the main office and maybe hangs out with the president of the company for another hour or so. I mean, not another hour, another like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And then leaves and goes home for the day. You know, he leaves by 2, if not earlier, for the day. And it's like, that's his whole day. And it's just like, what the F did you even do? Why do you come here? Your day is completely useless. You're not doing anything. You're not adding any value to the company at all. You're barely here, so you seriously are not adding any value. How are you adding value when you're not even here? You're not. And then when you are here, you're not adding any value. That's another thing he might do too. He might go out in the morning and like take a stroll around and say hi to everyone and, hey, big guy, how's it going? And just walk around and that's it. Like, what does that do? Nothing. Just aimlessly saying hi to people for what reason? You think they care if you say hi? Like you really are just like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a person that has an honorary PhD. You know, like when a celebrity gives a talk at a graduation and they get an honorary PhD. That's basically this guy. He has an honorary position. It means nothing. He doesn't bring anything to the table. He doesn't really. It's like he doesn't really have any real power. He can't really fire people anymore. He doesn't have that power. He used to as plant manager, but not really anymore. If he wanted to fire somebody, he'd have to talk to the plant manager or talk to upper management and get their okay. He can't just do it on his own anymore. You know, and like I said, he does nothing. So nobody cares if you say hi to him or not. You don't matter. You know, you're just, oh, hey, it's that guy. He's got some kind of high-ranking position, but forget if I know what he actually does. He's just a waste of time, money, space, everything. You know, the other part, too, is almost a year ago at this point now, I came up with a big, well-researched, well-laid-out proposal for a raise. And surprisingly, it actually worked. I did get a raise. It wasn't as big as I wanted. I did have options, too, to like give me a raise a little bit over time. It didn't really work out that way, but I still got something. So in the end, it still kind of worked. But anyways, in addition to that raise proposal, I also said, you know, I'd be interested in his position as COO when he retires. Whenever he finally officially retires, I said, if this position's something real that you want to maintain, like I don't know if it's something that you just kind of honorarily gave to him because he's been here forever, or if this is a real position that needs to be filled. But I said, if it is a real position, when he retires, I would like to take it over. And I even gave them a list of 9 ideas of things that I would do as COO to help make things better at the company. And it's just kind of ridiculous because it's like, even after me showing initiative and coming up with ideas and stuff, that's not my job. I don't have to come up with ideas as COO. That's the doofus COO's job to think of ideas for his own job. But yet, they still think he's a good option. What does he do? Nothing. Does he have ideas? No. He doesn't do anything all day. I have ideas. Proof on paper that I have a plan that I could do things. Yeah, they would take years to accomplish. It's not something that would get done in a day. But I have like a 5-year plan laid out for them on what I would do for the company to help better things. And they still think Dickwad is like a pretty solid COO by doing absolutely nothing. I don't get it. Like, it's his job, and he has no ideas. Why do I have the ideas? It's not even my job. It's not even guaranteed that I'll ever get the job either. He could retire and the position could die with him, because like I said, it could just be an honorary thing. And yet, I'm doing better at his job than him. How does that make any sense? But that's another reason why he has to go too. I just remember this. It's because he is so set in how things were. So anytime somebody tries to come up with new ideas, better ideas, and help advance the company and move things forward in the right direction, he just shoots it down. You know, the former plant manager, the one that replaced him when he was supposed to retire, that guy ended up quitting a few years ago now. And, well, not really quitting. He did give it 2 weeks, but you know what I mean. And I think that was because, this guy, this now COO, was just too annoying to him, just nagging on everything. Any ideas he had, this guy was shutting down. And I think he kind of butted heads with the new president of the company. You know, the former, the guy that used to be the plant manager. He was with the company for 30 years, so he worked with the current president's dad. He might have even worked with the current president's grandfather for a little bit. I don't know, maybe a couple of years. So, you know, he's used to, like, the OG management. And now, you know, he must have known about the current president when he was a kid and stuff. So now he just sees it as, I don't know, like, weird to him, if you will, that some kid, you know, some guy that he remembers being a kid is now, like, his boss. And I know they butted heads a lot. I don't really know over what, but he used to storm out of the office all cranky and stuff. So, yeah, he quit. But I also know he couldn't stand the COO because he wasn't letting him execute any ideas. He had a lot of ideas on what he could do to improve the plant, and this dickwad would just shut them all down. Like, one thing that I know he's always professional at shutting down is any kind of upgrades and improvements to the company. Anytime you try to suggest these things, his response is, "Oh, it's worked like this for the past 30 years. Why change things now? It's proven that it works. Proven tried and true," or whatever his dumb phrase is. And it's like, okay, but we're talking about technology here. Just because something worked great in 1989 doesn't mean that that's still the best way to do it in 2025. Like, let's put this into perspective. For an example, I mean, the main brain of our company, my company, whatever you want to say, like the whole server and everything, is run on software from 1978. Seriously, 1978. It regularly needs maintenance done. We have an older guy, very much older. He's probably in his 70s, maybe. Could be young 80s. I don't know. He's in good shape for his age, but you know he's older. But, yeah, he's like our tech guy for this software. It's like a dying breed because it's so old and old-fashioned. And, you know, younger generations aren't going to know how to use that because it's from 78. Why would anybody learn how to use stuff from 78? That's why the guy we have is like 80, because you need to be old. Because you needed to be working with it when it was new. And, like, yeah, that's what we have as the main brain of our company. I mean, the software itself is dumb. It's dumb in the sense that it only knows how to process based on what we put into it. You know what I mean? So it doesn't know how to think, if you will, and do any behind-the-scenes calculations or anything. I mean, it can, but you have to enter all the data and the formula and all that. Like, it's you that are putting the stuff in. It doesn't just know. Like, a computer will just know. You know what I mean? A current-day computer. Not this thing. It's all, I don't know what you call it. It's a green screen is the startup. It's, I don't know. It's like Linux or something. I forget what it's called. But, yeah, it's super archaic, and, like, that's the main brain. And I feel like, in part, it's probably because of this dumb COO. Well, it's worked for us all these years. It's called the AS400. That's what, like, the brand is and stuff. It's from IBM. But, you know, it's super archaic. And, yeah, it's like we probably still have that instead of anything newer, like SciFrame or Agile or something. Because for him, oh, well, it's worked all these years. Why change it? Well, I don't know, dickhead. Maybe because what was great in 1978 isn't great in 2025. Duh. I mean, for the longest time, we were still doing things on pen and paper. And it was like, you do realize computers exist, right? We can store this digitally, not waste paper, not have this big filing cabinet system and all this because we got to file everything. Like, you do realize we can make Excel spreadsheets and just put the data out that way, right? But nope, we did everything pen and paper for the longest time because for him, oh, well, that's always worked for us. Why change it? We have all these forms anyways, might as well use them. Yeah, well, the forms can also be turned digital, stupid. And then you don't have to keep printing them out when you need more. And I know I said it could be turned digital. That's because they weren't like Excel sheets or anything. These forms were just like forms, you know what I mean? Something that, I don't know, was made by somebody, but it's not on editable medium, so you have to print it out to write on it. But yeah, so it's like that's probably why we still use that, and why all of our machines are way old. I mean, we're in a day and age where we need big, robust machinery. And all we have is, like, we use injection presses. So we need to be in a world of, like, 350-ton presses. And instead, we got, like, a whole bunch of 80 tons, 165s, a couple of 170s. We have all these wussy presses. It's like, we need to be at a much more robust level. Geez, these wussy presses, yes. Again, maybe in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s even, these were great. But not anymore. You know, we need to be able to make 16, 24, 32 cavity molds. We can't with what we have. The best we can do is like 8 cav, 12 if we're lucky. We have a couple that are 16, and the only reason they're 16 is because it's a tiny part. But otherwise, anything more robust, we don't have proper tonnage to be able to do bigger molds, so the best we can do is 8 cav. And depending on how big it is, some of them, the biggest we can go is only 4 cav. Which then drives your piece price points way up because all you're doing is 4 parts per, you know, whatever the cycle might be, 45 seconds. So basically in a minute, you're only getting 4 parts. So your piece price is sky high. Where if we had bigger presses, maybe we could turn that into a 16 cav at the very least. But yeah, so anyways, my point is we probably have all these old, kind of worthless presses because of this dickhead too. Oh, they've been fine for us my whole career. Why should we get new presses? Huh? We don't need them. Yeah, you do. It's not 1984 anymore. You know, we can't get by with just small presses. I mean, tools. We need big tools, which needs big presses. Yeah, like this guy is just a waste of time, waste of payroll, waste of space. What I mean by space isn't like he should commit suicide. I mean space like in the building. Like he has an office. It's kind of prime real estate, if you will. You know, he has like a meeting room right behind his office. So he has like quick access to a meeting room. It's kind of cool. So, you know, it's a waste of space in that sense to have like a prime office just for like some doofus who does nothing. Hey, look at my awesome office. I'm worthless and don't deserve this, though. So, yeah. First thing you got to do, by far, is get rid of him. Like, make him retire. He was supposed to retire 6 years ago. It's time to have a serious conversation with him and be like, hey, bud, I know you're still here. I don't know why. Because, well, it's time that we change that. You need to head on out. You know, force him to retire if he ain't going to do it on his own. So anyways, that's one thing. Second thing that they need to do is they need to stop being cheap. My company is very cheap. And it kind of gets frustrating. You know, what's the old adage? Pinching pennies costs millions or something. You know, you got to spend money to make money. And we seriously need to spend a lot of money to do a lot of upgrades and everything. And that needs to happen. I mean, one thing that I know my company prides itself on is it's a debt-free company. Which, yeah, that is a great asset to have. Because when worse comes to worse, if you have no debt, like, you're still solid. Like, we've been in a real slow phase. Well, yeah, duh, that's what the whole point of this T4Cast is, but we've been slow. But it almost doesn't matter, because all we need to worry about paying are the regular bills, the electric bill, the water bill, payroll, just normal stuff. There's no debt, so we don't have to worry about, oh man, how are we going to pay this one and pay that one? We owe this one, X thousand amount per month for this service, and it's just the regular debt, and you can kind of ride it out when that's all you have. But I think maybe instead of maintaining being debt-free, maybe they should open a line of debt then, line of credit, and max it out and get all the upgrades that we need. Get new presses, get new robots, get new, other machinery. Upgrade some machines. Maybe you don't need new on everything, but maybe they could use some upgrades. Get those upgrades. Not every injection machine has a robot. Put a robot on every machine. Now every tool, every press that you have is versatile. That's a problem we have a lot, is that, this mold can't run because it only runs in this press, and that press currently has this in it, and then afterwards we're supposed to put this in that press, so this one's third in line. Well, sometimes the problem is just sometimes it's tonnage, so you do need to use a certain press because of tonnage, but sometimes it's just the option of having the robot, and so we have to wait until that robot can be free from the other jobs to be able to do this job. But if we had more robots, that would be less of a problem. You just set the mold up somewhere else with the appropriate robot. So, get more robots, get more, maybe even hire more staff. A lot of us are doing like a few roles. I know our HR person has got dual roles. Our HR person is both HR manager and purchasing, which is ridiculous. Those are two separate positions, and yet one person is doing them both. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, hire somebody to do purchasing, because our HR manager was HR. So hire somebody to do purchasing. Or if the person, I heard that this person actually prefers to do purchasing. They say it's funner than HR. So hire an HR manager then. So that way then this person can just focus on purchasing. Like, when people quit, don't make other people absorb the tasks and just call it a day. That's ridiculous. What I also don't get is how, they don't feel guilty. How do you not feel guilty about somebody doing double duty? Oh, so-and-so quit or got fired, so now this is your job as well. What? So I gotta do extra work for the same pay because why? You don't want to pay somebody new? It's ridiculous. Get proper staffing in there. It also makes it hard for people that have dual roles like this to even be able to take time off. Our purchaser / HR person, you know how difficult it is for her to be able to take a day off, never mind a vacation? She has two roles that are highly critical. It's hard for some of us to take a vacation when you have one role that's highly critical, never mind two. Okay, well, I think I could take this week off from HR duties, but I don't think I can do this week for purchasing. I have a lot of recs I got to do. It's just ridiculous. If you hire people, then everybody is all set. Nobody has to worry about anything. They can take their time off. They can be comfortable. Maybe have somebody as a backup. Since she knows how to do purchasing and HR, whoever you hire for the role, at least you have a backup now. So when that HR or that new purchasing person wants to take a vacation, you can fall back on her for the week. Hey, can you help them out? They're taking vacation. Yeah, whatever. It's only a week. Now you get your bases covered. Everybody's happy. Everything's running smoothly. It just makes sense. So yeah, definitely open up your checkbook and spend some money. Stop trying to be tight and hoard it all. Invest. Help yourself grow. We used to have an employee that was on the West Coast as well, who was supposed to get sales for us over there, but we ended up firing him because we found out that he was basically absolutely worthless and was more or less scamming the company. He wasn't even trying to get business, but still taking that weekly pay. So maybe what you could do is expand for real. Not only get a guy or two out there on the West Coast, but even get a little office. And then, just for good measure, put cameras in there so you can spy on them and see when they're there and what have you, and make sure that people are actually working. I mean, they go to Florida all the time. Fly out to California once in a while. Actually visit that site and physically be there so you know stuff's getting done. You know? I don't know. I mean, I do know. Now I think the next idea of what they should do is they really need to show appreciation for their employees more. You know, a lot of us, maybe even almost all of us, just feel like we're kind of, so to speak, used and abused. Like the people in the plant just get paid crap. They get really low pay, and it's not what you would expect from a manufacturing place. You'd think that they would make a little bit more, just all things considered, you know? But nope, they get minimum wage or a smidge more than that. Like I hear one department gets like, I don't know, $16.80 or something like that, 17 something. Like it's a smidge over minimum. Like, oh wow, so enticing. But yeah, just, I don't know, offer things. Offer employee of the month. Offer, I'd say discounts, but what are we going to get discounts for? We don't really make products that are discountable. So, but still, do employee of the month. Do little, I don't know, like employee appreciation lunches here and there. Maybe host something on the weekends where it's not the weekends plural like all the time, but you know, once a month or once every 2 months or something. Host a little get together. Make it like a themed party or something at the company. I know it sounds kind of lame at the company, but they do have a garage that is empty, so it's big. It's a large garage, so you know, there's a lot of space. You could turn that into like a ballroom almost. So, you know, you could host a decent party there. You know, do something like that. Do, I don't know, just things. Make people feel appreciated. Give them regular raises. Do raffles for like a surprise bonus. You know, $50. Do a raffle for $50 cash or something. Just do things so that employees feel appreciated. Then, in turn, what happens is they're happier. They stay working for you. They don't think about getting a different job. They work better because they're happy for how they're treated. If there are any issues, they're less likely to be snippy with you and cause problems because they're just like, okay, I understand. Sorry about that. Because you treat them good all the time, so they have no reason to be like jerky to you. I don't know. There's just a lot that can be done. And what is being done? Nothing. When I started, we had one company party, and I thought it was cool. And then that's been it. Nothing ever since. Like my first year working there, for some reason, was so much cooler than it is now. We had that company party. We had we got out early around the holidays. It was cool. And like I thought that's just how it was, but apparently not, because it hasn't happened since. But yeah, so do things like that. Maybe even for like your salary people. Granted, sure, we're salary, so we don't really get overtime pay. So I don't know, do like a thing once a month or something, or once every 2 months or whatever, where it's like salary people get to go out to breakfast on the company. You know, you bring your company card and we all go out to breakfast once every 2 months or whatever. You know, just something cool so we can feel appreciated. It'll go a long way. It's kind of like they say, happy wife, happy life. Happy employees, happy company, you know? Instead, you get all these disgruntled people who just don't care about their job. They put no effort in because they see it as why. Why should I bother putting effort in? What do I get out of it? Nothing. So they don't put effort in. They don't care. They're quick to quit. You know, they're quick to screw up and just not report it because they don't care. Like, change that. Make your employees happy. Make them feel appreciated. Then what else do I think should happen? I don't know. Is that really it? I thought I had more. I could just be tired right now. Maybe that's why I can't think of anything else. Yeah, maybe that is it. But still, you know, that's still like, what, 3 ideas I said? 4 ideas I said? on what they could do to try to, save their company a little and turn things around? Oh, actually, speaking of money, I just remembered, because this is an idea I pitched before, and of course it went nowhere. But they need to spend money on some ads. Again, they like to be cheap, so they try not to put ads anywhere. But spend money on ads. I try to tell them, make a YouTube channel and TikTok. It's free. Yeah, granted, it would take a lot of work to build it up and stuff. You'd have to regularly have you'd have to have a social media manager, somebody who can record videos and all this, edit them and upload them. But do that. It's basically free advertisement, and it gets our name out there. Then people are more exposed to us rather than maybe some of our stronger competition, just because we have that better presence. It makes me think of LC Signs, Tony from LC Signs. Do I need a neon sign? No. Will I ever? Probably not. But I know I could always turn to LC Signs, and it's all because of Tony and his marketing. So, get ads going. Free ones, do paid ones. Even just slap them in the shopper's guide. They don't have to be ads for getting a job. Just put a little ad about the company in general in there. All it takes is one person who's looking for what we sell, and then they're like, man, we'll check this place out, see what they're all about. Boom. And then next thing you know, maybe we just potentially got a new customer. All because we put an ad in the shopper's guide. It was I don't want to say free advertisement, because the shopper's guide isn't very cheap, but at the same time it's free in the sense of low effort. You put an ad in, somebody happened to read it, and now you got a customer. Which, when you don't do anything like that, that's a customer we wouldn't have had. That guy looking at the shopper's guide, just kind of zoning out, and happened to stumble across our ad, wouldn't have been able to come across it if it wasn't there. So TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, ads and shopper's guides and stuff. There's also trade magazines. Put ads in there. Make a presence. Get yourself known. This is like running a presidential campaign and not even being on the trail and nobody knows anything about you. And you're like, how is this guy? Who is this guy? Who's this guy on the other ticket that's trying to, run for the highest office in the land and nobody even knows who he is? It doesn't make sense. That's like us. We're wondering why we have no business and we're, things are looking dire, but it's like, well, what are we doing to get ourselves exposure? Nothing. So change that. What else do we have to do? We also need to aggressively look at our pricing. I don't know if I already talked about this, but our pricing structure sucks. The way that it was built up is over the years, I think I might have already talked about this. I don't remember if this was part of my prep that I was talking about this or talking about this for real. I know this might sound weird to be kind of like second guessing myself, I don't want to say halfway through this. It's way past halfway through this video. But the reason I'm second guessing myself is because ever since I started the second half of this video, the one that I said, so the first thing that needs to happen is I need to get rid of the COO. Yeah. All this has been 5 days later. That first part I recorded on Wednesday, and now it is Monday of the following week. So I don't fully remember if I already said this. I don't think I did, because it doesn't make sense. I was trying to save all my ideas for part 2. So I don't know. But anyways, what they need to do is really look at revamping the way our quote system works. The quote system just adds a ridiculous amount of add-on, so our overall margins are just ridiculously high, and then it just makes our prices super high, and so we quote out things and no one wants to bite because they're like, oh my god, these prices are terrible. And it's like, yeah, I can't blame you. The prices are terrible. You go to get something from us and we're giving you a quote of $900 when everyone else is quoting at half of that, and it's like, okay, something needs to be done. We can't just keep offering these ridiculous quotes to our potential customers and then wonder why they don't want to go with us. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe because our prices are extremely astronomical? We really need to look at this and really cut out a whole bunch of the fat. There's a lot of fat that could easily be cut out, and you wouldn't even have to break a sweat on it. You'd still be having massive margins. So start there. Cut all that out. That'll help a little. another thing that would really help, which I've been trying to say this to them, but if we got bigger presses, like I already said, then we could make bigger tools. The more parts that you can make per shot, the lower the piece price becomes. Also, quite possibly, the better the press you get, maybe even the faster the cycle time you can do. You know what I mean? If you got like a smaller press that's almost maxing out on like a 6 cav, maybe it needs to have like a longer overall cycle for the hold time and stuff. So maybe it's 50 seconds. Where if you got a big, robust press and you could put that 6-cavity mold to like a 16 and you could cut down the cycle time to 45 seconds or even 40, that's going to save a lot in the overall cost. That's going to cut costs like crazy because now you're able to produce so many more parts per hour. You also are able to, and yeah, you're able to do that in a couple of ways. One, because your cavitation's significantly higher per shot. You just, basically quadrupled it. Well, tripled it, I guess. And you also, cut down your cycle. So per hour, you just added, let's say 10 seconds per shot in between shots. So 60 minutes, that's like 600 seconds that you added, which is what, 10 minutes? So you just added essentially the equivalency of 10 more minutes of molding per hour. So that's a whole bunch of extra parts there as well. So you're just driving costs down by getting these big, nice presses that can run big molds. And then we can get to a point where we are competitive. We are not competitive at all right now. Our prices are ridiculous, and I don't really know why it's like that. I mean, there is a reason, something about back in the day. I guess back in the day, we had more of a reputation or something. I think back in the day, we had a reputation of being, like, high-end and fancy and all this, so, like, customers saw it as, oh, well, we're getting what we pay for. But it's different now. The market has kind of caught up to us. Maybe where we once were a leader, now it's just, like, expected. It's the average. We're not really a leader anymore. We're just doing our thing. We're just in line with just like everyone else. We all produce decent parts. It's not like ours are any better than anyone else. Plus nowadays, from what I hear, a lot is worse than how it used to be, like when the original owner was running the company and we had, a QC manager that actually cared and was really good at his job. Now we just like promote somebody random to be QC. The last QC person quit, and then it was like, well, we need somebody for QC, and I think we took somebody that was like a lining supervisor or something. We're like, yeah, you want to do this? And he's like, I can try. I mean, geez, the guy never even knew how to use calipers prior, like verniers, and then now he's the QC manager, and it's like, okay. I mean, he knows how to use them now. He's been doing the position for a couple of years, but I'm just saying in the beginning, when he first took over, he didn't even know how to use calipers. And it's like, seriously, guys, this is what we're promoting? A guy that literally can't do the job because he doesn't even know how to? No fault of his own, He didn't apply to be a QC manager. He applied to be a lining manager, which he was. But at least back in the day, the guy we had actually was like a QC person. That was his job, what he specialized in. And he was great at it, I guess. And, things were different. So our quality was much higher. And from what I understand, that owner was like what I'm talking about, how we need to be more, make the employees feel appreciated and stuff. He was all about that. He did make the employees feel appreciated from what I understand. I guess he'd go around every day and ask, is there anything that you need? And he meant it sincerely. Like if you said you needed something, he'd get it. Now it's just like, is there anything that you need? Yeah, can you, F you. That's not in the budget. But yeah, so anyways, we really need to look at that too, slashing the cost, figuring out where the fluff is and removing it. Anyways, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more ideas, but that's good enough for now. I'm kind of drawing a blank. I'm kind of tired. And I don't really need this to go on any longer than it already is. This thing's like, what, an hour and a half to begin with? So I'm just going to end it here. Good enough. It gets my general idea across, what I wanted to talk about. And so, yeah, thanks for listening to me. Thanks for checking this out with me. And until next time, I said see ya.